Alright, so basically, what I'm going to be doing from here on is, you know, compiling all the videos or compiling all the fights that I don't really care about too much, or I don't have a very strong read, or I feel like they're huge mismatches, and putting them all into one video just to save time and giving a more concise breakdown, just so I'm not going too deep into every fight, and it just takes a lot of time. Takes a lot of time in taping, uh, and I probably will come to this around the same conclusion anyway with less taping on these type of fights, because a lot of these fights are quite unpredictable. In MMA it's quite unpredictable, but especially fights like this, like Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann. But yeah, it's just taking too much time. Going deep into every fight was just taking too much time, and that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to go, very deep in every fight. I like breaking down, the tendencies that fighters have, and techniques that could potentially work on one fighter, and openings that fighters have in the stand-up, and if the other fighter could exploit that weakness. But it was just too much, and it was just too much tape, and I got to do other things in my life. And I'm back training now, so I only really got started on betting and getting serious into betting and making these videos when I got injured, and it was just something to do because I wasn't able to train. But now I'm back able to train, and I'm doing university as well. I've got a job. It's just too much. It's too much to tape. I got a girlfriend as well. Like, I got family as well. Like, much more important things to do in life than sit in your room and just watch, fighters make silly decisions. Basically what it is at the end of the day, which is, what's been happening a lot lately. Like, it's a silly sport to bet on. Like, a lot of the times fighters can absolutely win, but they just don't. And it's a very young sport. The mental game, the decision making isn't always going to be there, and it's just a tough way to make a living. I couldn't imagine betting. I couldn't imagine betting on MMA for a living. That'd just be super tough. It would be super frustrating in my opinion. But yeah, props to anyone who's able to do that. But that's probably never going to be me. It's yeah, just taping was too much for me. But I'll still tape like fights that I find interesting, because that's what I like to do. It started as a hobby, became a bit of a chore after I had to tape every fight and then, make a video on it. But I'm going to start making these videos probably shorter and shorter as I get more stuff that I like to do. Like, I'm able to train now, able to exercise. That's obviously my favorite. I enjoy exercising and training a lot more than I enjoy making these videos. I don't enjoy making these videos at all, to be honest. Yeah, they're just they're a bit of a chore to get out. But I started making the videos because I was taping basically every fight, but on fights that I didn't bet, I didn't want to let that research just go to waste and just, say, oh, okay, I won't bet this fight, because I invested a lot of time into taping that fight. Now I'm not going to bet it. It's basically useless to me. I just spent hours on hours just doing, for nothing, really. So I just thought, yeah, I'll put some videos out, maybe get some money off that. I haven't really seen too much meaningful money from YouTube yet. Yeah, but I guess it is a tiny bit of side income. So, and if I start seeing the money come in, then maybe I'll put some effort into these videos. But right now, there's not really any point in putting too much effort into these videos, honestly, guys. But yeah, so that's my thoughts. That's the situation at the moment. How I see this fight going for Anthony Smith and Ryan Spann. It's an absolute garbage fight. I can't believe it's a main event. It's, I like respecting the fighters, but these guys are just not very good. Anthony Smith is just a complete meme artist. Like, he doesn't win. His opponents lose, basically. I try and fade this guy basically every time out, but he pulls it off sometimes, and then sometimes he doesn't, and that's the Anthony Smith factor. Because on paper he really shouldn't win too many fights. He's terrible at winning minutes. Yeah, it is what it is. Like, are they trying to push Spann? Because you're supposed to be giving Anthony Smith to prospects so they can look great against him and get that name on their resume. Are they trying to push Spann? Because I don't see too much potential in him, honestly, and he's just big. Like, that's the most redeeming factor about him. I would have preferred Smith face a more promising prospect, like a Ankalaev, a Jiri, or fuck, even like a Johnny Walker. I would prefer that. But yeah, Ryan Spann, he's just not very good, and he's I don't know if he's very bright, because Ryan Spann just seems to be a magnet for Travis Browne elbows, because he just stalls on a double leg and he doesn't address the Travis Browne elbows at all. And you'd think he'd learn, because I think Carl Roberson finished him with Travis Browne elbows. Who else? Johnny Walker recently with Travis Browne elbows, and Alex Nicholson nearly finished him with PFL elbow. With Travis Browne elbows in LFA, I think. So, how many times has it got to happen to you for you to learn, for you to get it through your head? So, not quite sure, but just very poor fight IQ. So, both these guys, not very good in my opinion. It's probably the least I've ever looked into a main event, honestly. But these guys are just super unpredictable, especially Anthony Smith. I agree that Anthony Smith should be the favourite because of the guys that he's been there with and beaten, I guess. But it's really hard to pick a guy like Anthony Smith, because he's basically losing until he isn't. He's not a guy that's going to win minutes. He's not a guy that's going to win decisions. He's a guy that's going to pull a finish out of his ass, and, you know, it is what it is. I think his durability is probably going to carry him through this one, and finish him late, I guess. Finish Spann late. Just basically how Anthony Smith wins. Just get beaten up for the first 2 rounds, and then find a finish late when the opponent gasses. Something like that. But yeah, I think Smith finishes him, but, you know, nothing would surprise me in this fight. Nothing would. It's, I wouldn't blame anybody if they got this fight wrong, you know, betting wise, predicting wise, you know, it's just a fucking mess of a fight. Like, it's super unpredictable. Anything can happen. These guys are just absolute meme artists together. But yeah, so let's have a look at the odds, I guess. So yeah, Anthony Smith is a favourite, fair enough, but way too much of a favourite. Well, not too much of a favourite, but I'm just never trusting a guy like Anthony Smith at that price. No fucking way am I betting him at like a sizable favourite. No chance. I think the value is on Spann. Do I want to play him? Not really, but I think the value is on Spann if I was to play anything. Whoops. Yeah, there we go, for the American viewers. But, yeah, just absolutely terrible fight. I can't believe it's a main event. How I see the fight going? The lowdown is that Arman is the better wrestler. He's going to win all the wrestling exchanges. He's the better striker as well. He's going to be tagging Giagos a lot on the feet. And he has a huge advantage in cardio. So I think he's going to be mauling Giagos in the later rounds. I think it's going to be very ugly in the later rounds. You know, Giagos, he might stuff a few takedowns early on, but as the fight wears on, the takedowns are going to get easier and easier for Arman Tsarukyan. I don't think Giagos is going to have that much for Arman, honestly. I don't think he has too much, really. So, also, Giagos isn't a dangerous fighter, so he's not like able to pull out finishes, you know, willy-nilly. So I don't hate paying juice on Arman here. I haven't seen the line. I'm recording this in mid-August, so I haven't actually seen the line. They haven't made a line even on Parry Match yet. So yeah, I'm recording this on the 16th of August. So yeah, I haven't seen a line for it, but I'm guessing he's going to be juiced. But if it's like minus 400 or minus 300, I really don't hate that. I really don't hate paying juice like that, because, you know, when you pay juice, you don't want to do it against someone who's super dangerous just because it's such a sweat, personally, really. Like a Derek Lewis or something like that. But, you know, Arman, he doesn't really have that equalizer, whether it be a one-punch KO or very good submission skills when it does hit the mat. I think he's just completely outmatched everywhere. Arman's improving every fight. You know, I think he's up against it here, Christos. Arman should win quite easily unless something weird happens. You know, that's the only way I see, like an ankle injury or some shit like that. Like, yeah, I really can't see Arman losing this one. So yeah, like, I was happy to play him at like $1.30 or even probably $1.25 at like minus 400 or whatever that is. but minus 700, minus 800 is too much for me. Yeah, it's too dear. Like, he probably looks this. He probably looks minus 800 on Fight Night, and I'm expecting he does, but it's just not enough value for me. So, yeah. So how I see that fight going? Both of Buckley's setbacks in the UFC are from fighters with good kicks. Arroyo has alright kicks. The only way I see him winning is just like kind of putting Buckley out with a knee or a head kick or something like that, because, you know, I don't think he's going to be more. I think he's going to be less active than Buckley, and also he's going to fade as the fight goes on. Antonio has shown a good chin in his career, but he's going to be very vulnerable in the pocket because he does hold his hands very low. And Buckley doesn't stop throwing heat, and as the fight wears on, Arroyo, he seems to fade quite badly when he does get tired. Seems to wilt a little bit. Also feel like Buckley can grab a few takedowns, maybe even get off some good ground and pound as well. But I think it's just pretty obvious that the UFC want Buckley to win this matchup. I think they know that Arroyo isn't UFC level, and I feel like the matchmakers recognize that, and they've pinned him accordingly against Joaquin Buckley, because they think it's a good fight for Buckley to get back on track, because they do see a little bit of promise in him. So I think that's the case, and I do think Buckley wins. I think he gets in the pocket and just knocks Arroyo out eventually. So yeah, no way I'd pay that much juice on Buckley, honestly, even if it is against Arroyo. I was pretty happy to play Arroyo at $4, but yeah, not enough. It's not enough for me. I don't want to play either side in this fight. I feel like something weird is going to happen. So I don't think Pennington's going to want to stand and trade with Kianzad, honestly. Maybe she does for a little bit, but after a few shots, I think Pennington will be looking for the clinch. Pannie does have cleaner hands, much cleaner hands. I don't think Pennington is very comfortable on the feet. When you do feint her, she will flinch big time. Like, if you look closely, also she'll like close her eyes when she's about to get hit or anticipating a punch. So if you flinch, or if you feint her a bit, she will close her eyes, and then you can follow up with that as well. It's just dangerous to close your eyes when anticipating a punch, because, you know, you can't see what's happening. They say that the punches that do knock you out is the ones that you don't expect, but when you have your eyes closed, you're not really expecting. You don't know what to expect because you're not seeing anything. Pannie is also the more active party. She lands 5.7 significant strikes per minute, and Pennington only lands 3.62. And the reason for that probably is because Pennington is best in the clinch, and that's where she spends the majority of her fights. Where she does focus a bit more on control than activity, and that's why her numbers are a bit lower, I guess. And that's where she's going to look to get this fight, in my opinion. Pannie isn't bad in the clinch either. Held her own against Sarge, got some nice elbows and knees of her own, but Raquel, she's much bigger than Sarge, and she's also a little bit better in the clinch, just pure clinch work. I'm kind of worried it's going to look like Kianzad versus Chiasson when they do clinch up, because Chiasson just dominated her in the clinch basically. If Pennington does get her down, she's probably going to be able to keep her down there. Pannie has shown just zero urgency in the past to get back to her feet when she does get taken down. I hope Pannie does win though. You know, we need some new blood in this division. Something different from the usual clinch fest that we used to seeing with these girls in the 135 division, like Pennington, Pena, Chiasson, Landsberg, Kunitskaya. You know, I don't know what's gotten into this division, but, you know, half the division spend the majority of their time in the clinch. And, you know, you can say all you want about the clinch is the most grueling aspect of the sport, but it doesn't change the fact that it's just boring as fuck to watch, you know? But yeah, it's the other women's weight classes don't do this. No other weight class does this, but I don't know why it's infected this division so terribly, but they just love being in the clinch and just making fights as boring as possible. So I think it's going to be quite a close fight. Well, I think it's going to be quite competitive. I'm on the edge with it, but I'm going to try and speak a Kianzad win into existence. So I'm going to pick Kianzad, but it's more of a vote of confidence. I want what's best for the division, for the greater good.
It's all about the greater good. The greater good. How can this be for the greater good? The greater good. How can this be for the greater good? The greater good. Shut it!
So yeah, I think the fight's pretty even. I will go Kianzad by decision. I'm going to try and speak that into existence. The only bet I would make would be at the dog at $2.30 or plus 130. The props haven't come out yet, but fight goes the distance is probably a fucking lock, really. Like, if that's like $1, if that's even like $1.30 or minus 330, whatever that is in the money line, I'd probably parlay that, honestly. These guys don't have a finishing bone in their body, so yeah, that's what I would play. So how I see the fight going? Both have wrestling backgrounds, but I believe Gravely is the better wrestler. Gravely had a problem with the takedowns of Brett Jones, but they were like sneaky clinch takedowns. I don't see the type of takedowns like the basic traditional single legs and double legs of Nathan Maness working on Tony Gravely. I think he would get reversed if he tried to take Gravely down. I feel like Gravely can get Maness down whenever he wants, really. It's just keeping him there is the problem for Gravely. He doesn't have the best top control, but I feel like he should get enough control, or just control in general, control against the fence, control, in the grappling transitions, to warrant a decision. So I'm going to go with Gravely, but I'm not confident. I forgot a lot of stuff about this fight. Yeah, so I think the line's about correct here. No value on either side, but I do have Gravely by decision. How is this fight going? I think this booking is 100% in retaliation to Cheyenne Baez' post-fight interview where she said, she was broke or whatnot, and then, media publications jumped on it and it went pretty viral, I guess, in the MMA world. So I'm 100% sure this is a reaction to this, and that's why he's getting booked against Montel Jackson. Because it is a pretty mean matchup. It is a pretty evil matchup from Dana White, the matchmakers there. It's pretty nasty. But Baez, he's a good wrestler, but the type of takedowns that he generally goes for are like single legs, double legs, traditional takedowns. Montel's very good at defending those type of takedowns because he's able to get underhooks really easily with those long ass arms of his. He's also very good at using his long arms to get himself leverage in the body lock position. So when he's in the clinch, he's able to kind of manipulate the posture of his opponent. He's able to reach down a lot farther than they are. He can, get around their hips potentially, also just get around their lower back, break the posture, and then he can use his long legs to, reap a leg out or just, trip his opponent over. We've seen Montel get grinded out before, though, with the volume takedown and the fence control approach before. That was from Ricky Simone and Brett Johns. Obviously, much more credentialed grapplers. Not credentialed, but just much more experienced MMA fighters and much better fighters than JP Baez, but it has to be said. So, Baez, he has a path to victory, theoretically, but he's going to have to basically fight the perfect fight. Like, he's not going to be, he doesn't have the durability of Ricky Simone and Brett Jones to withstand the punishment that Montel's going to be dishing his way. Like, JP Baez's chin looks real weak. Might have been the weight cut to 125. But, some people just have weak chins, and that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from JP Baez. And I haven't even mentioned the size difference yet. Like, it's one of the smallest frames at 135 in JP Baez versus one of the biggest frames at 135 in Montel Jackson. I think JP is going to have a real hard time holding Montel down, even if he does get him down. He's going to have a hard time controlling him in scrambles. Like, Montel's just going to be able to get back to his feet really easily, in my opinion. Or it's going to be hard for JP to get any respect on the feet because he's not really a power puncher. He's not really a great striker in general. So it's going to be hard for him to get any respect on the feet. I think Montel's just going to walk him down and just kind of do what he wants really in this fight. Yeah, so I think Montel Jackson catches him, TKOs him pretty quickly. Yeah, so Montel Jackson's pretty happy to play him at like $1.37 or minus 270, not at this price. Way too steep for me. I do think the line is about correct. It's a little bit higher than I would line it, but it is what it is. Baez, I would play him at probably like $6.50 or plus 550. If Montel is like $2.30 or plus 130 for inside the distance, then I'd play that because all JP's losses are inside the distance, and I do think he does get finished again here. So how I see this fight going? Yeah, I didn't go deep diving into this one, as you can tell. I just remember how bad Alpar looked when I taped her against Stephanie Egger. So I pretty much skimmed Blanchfield tape just to see if she could stuff takedowns or defend takedowns well. It passed the eye test for me. You know, like Alpar, she doesn't even pretend to want to strike. She'll just go for takedowns immediately. So if she gets the takedown stuffed or reversed, that's basically the fight. Like, she doesn't have any plan B. She's not gonna just settle and then, okay, we'll have to rely on our striking for this one. No, it's just continuing to go for the takedown, and then if you get reversed or if you get your back taken in the clinch, then it is what it is. But we're not striking, okay? I feel like that's her mental monologue every fight. But yeah, so I think Blanchfield is just better everywhere. I think Blanchfield is more physical too. Alpar seems quite physically weak. If you watch her previous fights, you know, she gets thrown around quite a bit. Just, you know, seems to have a problem with physicality. But it is what it is. Anyway, we'll have a look at the betting lines. So I do think Blanchfield wins, probably by a decision. I forgot what I said, but I think it was decision. I think the line's absolutely correct. I think this is how I would line it, honestly. I don't think Sarah Alpar is value, for sure. Don't let her con you into thinking that she is value, like she conned fucking Jake Paul or whatever, whoever donated like 25k to her for a training camp. Because her goal was like 45k or something for a training camp. It's like, what's she making? Like 18 plus 18 max. So that's her expenses for the training camp were very high for asking for 35k. Which also feels a little bit lazy to me, honestly. I just come from a working background, so I understand fighters struggle, and the people, well, the fighters that, you know, up and coming in their career, it's hard to, you know, get money and, you know, don't get paid a whole lot, but, you know, just asking for money and begging for money, just for a training camp, it was a little bit off to me. But it is what it is. Not everyone's going to share that opinion. And yeah, I do think Blanchfield does win here. I just want to see a little bit more from her. I want to see how she performs in this fight before I play her at any kind of price like this. So how I see the fight going? So both guys throw heat and both love to just stand still and just eat punches. So a standing KO wouldn't shock me. Both these guys are basically just like walking heavy bags. But I think it stays pretty even on the feet. You know, pretty low volume, pretty low level on the feet. Just the way Lopez typically fights though is with his wrestling and his power, which he can attempt to do for about 1.5 rounds, and then he, you know, hits a wall, gasses out basically. I feel like Heili will be able to thwart the takedowns of Lopez early on and grind him out late, but, you know, it's hard to trust this guy. You know, he's apparently got some decent wrestling accolades in China, but, you know, the guy's wrestling strategy is just so peculiar. Like, he won't shoot for the first 2 rounds, and then he turns into like a volume wrestler in the 3rd round. Then in the Casey Kenny fight, he didn't attempt one takedown. Even when Casey Kenny was just battering him pillar to post on the feet, he didn't attempt to ground Kenny once. And we've just been seeing that a lot from the guys coming out of the Shanghai Performance Institute. Like, they just don't, they have some very perplexing fight IQ. Very well conditioned, but, you know, fight IQ hasn't been a strong suit for these guys. So I feel like if someone was instructing him what to do, and he seems like a very, coachable guy. So I feel like if someone told him what to do as a game plan and he stuck to that, I feel like he could have a lot more success, but just the fight IQ has cost him in fights in the past, and I feel like he should go with the wrestling heavy game plan against Gustavo Lopez, but it's hard to really know how this guy's going to show up. So the prediction is Heili by decision. I think he pulls away late. I think him as a dog is a good bet. I think Gustavo, I'd only play him at like $2.50 or plus 150. Not really looking to play him, but I do think Heili has a much larger upside than Gustavo does. So I'm pretty happy to play him at like, like a dog. Even maybe pick him $1.95 minus 105. I'm pretty happy with that. And this is the fight for me. This is the fight that made me start putting less emphasis on fights that I don't really care about, and then, you know, put more time into other fights and other things in my life. Because just as I was skimming through tape on this one, I couldn't take it anymore. So this is the fight that broke me. But yeah, how I see this fight going, like, I might not even watch this fight, and I watch every fight. I watch top to bottom. I wake up early, even if it's like 3 a.m. for the prelims. I watch every fight, but like, who gives a fuck about this fight, really? Like, maybe the families and the coaches of the fighters, but I'm not sure who else. On the feet, I think it'll be competitive, probably. I don't know. Both throw volume, both don't strike with too much intent. Whitmire can probably get Goldy down, so I guess I'll pick her. Like, I guess Whitmire wins, but she's just such a flake, so I'm definitely not going to trust her with my money unless she's a big dog, which she's not. So basically, this is what I'm talking about when I say she's a flake. It's just, mostly stemming from this is where I get that opinion of, but also just the fights that she's been finished in after that.
From here, and
after this.
I'm pumped that Roxy's gonna be representing Team Gaethje the next round.
I just started freaking out. Like, I literally was just like, God.
Misha's like, can't relate at all. Like, Misha's a warrior, and she's like, what the fuck's this girl saying?
Please just call it before the bell. I didn't
You
want
could
to
see it.
talk
You laid there like, hey, I'm not fighting back.
I gave up on myself. I feel like I've done that in fights before, and
Done it before, probably will do it again.
it just sucks. I have a lot of things, like, I need to work through, like, within myself, and not taking anything away from Roxy. Roxy is a great competitor.
And then blah blah blah, sob story. But yeah, so if you're having those thoughts in a fight, well, basically you can't be having those thoughts in a fight. Because, yeah, you know, that's ingrained in you. And there's a lot of other professions that I believe you probably should be doing. If you don't like getting punched in the face, if you don't like getting taken down and beaten up, then you should probably pick another profession. There's a lot that don't involve getting punched in the face and getting beaten up. So, you know, it's your own fault there. But yeah, so I do think she wins. I think Whitmire wins. But I just can't bet her as a favourite just because of that, the opinion I have towards her, and her fortitude. So yeah, if she were a dog, then maybe I'd bet that maybe. If you like Goldy, you probably won't get too much value on the current line, but maybe if like inside the distance is something stupid, then maybe I'd play that, because Whitmire, I'm pretty sure she's been finished in all of her losses. I'm probably making that up, but she gets finished a lot and she does quit a lot. So, you know, if I were to play Goldy, it would be inside the distance.